Part 178. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1771. Chapter 1771. You are afraid of her, but I am not. After being criticized by netizens, I pretended to terminate my contract with MC. It's really a good example of both standing and acting. It's so disgusting. So Xiao Xiao looked at the expression on Song Kei's face and deliberately advised, I advise you not to offend her. She has a lot of backers behind her. Song Kei couldn't hear such words, and immediately sneered, others don't dare to offend this scheming for fear of her revenge, but I'm not afraid. Isn't she just relying on the few financial backers behind her? For those who are rich and powerful, for men, she is just a plaything. I don't believe that those men can still retaliate against us one by one for her. The reason why Song Kei is so arrogant is because she is also close to her financial sponsor. Her financial sponsor also cooperated with the Mo family and the Gong family in business dealings. Although the financial sponsor was already married, Song Kei was actually a mistress, but she did not have the consciousness to be a mistress. Always like to think that he is the right person. Furthermore, Song Kei is also known in the industry as a brainless person with low EQ and IQ. If it weren't for the financial backer she was with, she wouldn't have been able to come to this show. Xiao Xiao likes this kind of brainless person. It is convenient for her to make calculations. I think it's better to be careful. Chiao Mian sounded like someone who has come before is looking out for Song Kei. How? Anyway, it's nothing, so don't provoke her easily. If she blows the pillow wind or something, our life will be uncomfortable. Xiao Xiao knew Song Kei's temperament, so he said this deliberately. On the surface it looks like you are persuading, but in fact it is adding fuel to the fire. As expected. Song Kei's face turned even darker when he heard her say that. You are afraid of her, but I am not. I want to see what she can do to me even if I offend her. Xiao Xiao looked at Song Kei, who was already filled with hatred for Chiao Mian. A smile of success flashed across his eyes, and he said no more. This time, she didn't have to do it herself at all. Someone will help her clean up Chiao Mian. That's great. Asterisk. After waiting for about half an hour, two more artists came up one after another. One man and one woman. The male artist knew Song Kei and the others, and soon a few of them started fighting. Of course, the three-person team was on the same side, and another male artist named Han Yan did not even say hello to Chiao Mian. There is also a female artist, Shenfei. As soon as Shenfei got in the car, Song Kei, Xiao Xiao and the male artist named Han Yan all rushed to say hello to Shenfei. They all became very polite and well behaved, saying Sister Shen every time. Shouted Shenfei. Sister Shen, are you warm? I have a small electric fan here. Do you want it? Song Kei had just hit a wall with Zhanbo, and now he began to be attentive to Shenfei again, trying to please Shenfei. Among all the guests participating in the show this time, Shenfei is the most famous one. This time Shenfei will come to participate in the meaning of travel, which surprised many of the guests at the same time. Because according to Shenfei's fame and popularity, she no longer needs to use such a program to establish her status. These are just the icing on the cake for her. Shenfei, a big sister in the film and television industry, is also the idol of many artists in the industry, so in this show, who doesn't want to get close to Shenfei and build a relationship? End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1772. Chapter 1772. I was a little doubtful about life after being hit. Senior, please sit over here. There is no sun here, so it's cooler. Han Yan stood up and gave up his seat. Shenfei was surrounded by several people enthusiastically, her brows slightly furrowed, obviously a little unhappy. She is an old person in the industry. How could she not know that these juniors were all courting her? Perhaps other old people like this and like their younger generations to hold them up and treat them respectfully. But she didn't like it. She will hate this way of getting along. For her, everyone in this car is equal, and she hopes that others can treat her normally. Shenfei's eyes passed directly over several people and landed on Jiao Mian, who was sitting in the last row, and Jean Bo, who had a hat covering his face and seemed to have fallen asleep. Jiao Mian met her eyes, nodded slightly to her, and then called out, "Sister Shen." After greeting her, she said nothing more or did anything else. She lowered her head and continued reading her program script. In the eyes of Song Ke and others, Jiao Mian was disrespecting his senior. He was still sitting there when he saw his senior, and didn't even know how to get up and say hello. Song Ke saw Shenfei frowning and looking unhappy, and thought she was unhappy with Jiao Mian's attitude. She thought to herself that the little Jiao Mian was indeed easy to attract hatred. Shenfei had just gotten in the car, and the little had already offended someone. Happy again, Shenfei must be on the same front as them. Their team is getting bigger and bigger, and it seems that there is only one Zanbo who is still on the same front as her. Perhaps Zanbo will join their team soon. By then, there will be no one around the little bitch, and we can take care of her in this month. The more Song Ke thought about it, the happier she became. She already regarded Shenfei as someone on the same team as them. She said to Shenfei in her own tone, "Sister Shen, the newcomer named Jiao Mian has several financial backers. I don't care about anyone. Xiao and I have just been angry with her. It's okay if she doesn't take us seriously. I didn't expect that she would treat you like this, Sister Shen. That's so arrogant." After Song Ke finished speaking, he was waiting for Shenfei to get angry and even teach Jiao Mian a lesson, but he didn't expect that Shenfei walked past them directly, and then sat down with Jiao Mian amid the surprised and embarrassed expressions of several people. Mian sighed. After Shenfei sat down, she smiled at Han Yan, who offered her seat. "I appreciate your kindness. I prefer the seat in the last row. The car has air conditioning and it's not hot." Song Ke, who was still holding a small electric fan in his hand. Song Ke was rejected by Jean Bo and Shenfei one after another, and the whole person was hit with doubts about life. There are so many empty seats on the bus, even in the last row. But Shenfei chose to sit next to Jiao Mian. What does that mean? Is Shenfei going to side with Jiao Mian? If Jean Bo and Shenfei both sided with Jiao Mian, then this matter would be difficult to handle. Shenfei is the most famous among all the guests. Zanbo is the most famous among the male guests. If the two most important people are looking towards Jiao Mian, then it will be difficult to isolate Jiao Mian. Han Yan was a little embarrassed, but he didn't think too much. He just thought that maybe Shenfei really liked sitting in the last row. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1773. Chapter 1773. Everyone has a love for beauty. Furthermore, he actually has no hatred towards Jiao Mian. If it weren't for Xiao and Song Ke, Han Yan would have taken the initiative to say hello to Jiao Mian. Heart of beauty in everyone. With such a beautiful woman sitting there, looking like a fairy, what man would really hate her? He just saw that Xiao and Song Ke had a bad relationship with Jiao Mian, and he didn't want to offend them. Shenfei didn't sit down, so Han Yan sat down by himself. Song Ke also sat back down in his original position angrily. Xiao glanced deeply at the two people in the back seat, pursed her lips, and sat back in silence. I don't know what the relationship between Shenfei and Jiao Mian is. Shenfei was helping Jiao Mian on Weibo before, but now she ran over to sit with Jiao Mian. Could the two of them be very good friends? But it's impossible. Jiao Mian and Shenfei have never interacted before. One is a newcomer and the other is a senior figure who has won several Best Actress awards. And judging from the current state of their relationship, it doesn't look like they have known each other for a long time. Friend. Could it be that Shenfei helped Jiao Mian like this because she knew who the backer behind Jiao Mian was? After thinking about it, Xiao Xiao feels that this possibility is relatively high. Asterisk. On the rear seat. Seeing Shenfei sitting over, Jiao Mian felt warm in her heart. Whether Shenfei really likes to sit in the last row or just says it because she is helping her, Jiao Mian is grateful to her in her heart. Remembering that Shenfei had helped her on Weibo before, Jiao Mian felt that she had to say thank you in person. Sister Shen, thank you. Huh, Shenfei turned her head and took off her sunglasses. What are you thanking me for? Jiao Mian smiled. Sister Shen helped me speak last time. Thank you very much. Shenfei then remembered what she was talking about. She also smiled faintly. It's just a little effort. Besides, I'm not that warm-hearted. I just don't want the younger generation I admire to be slandered for no reason. Hearing what she said, Jiao Mian was stunned. Shenfei just said that she admired her? She heard it right. Shenfei met her eyes, as if she knew what she was thinking, and raised her lips again. Although the performance in the previous audition was very short, your performance has already surprised me. That scene was actually not easy to perform. I never thought you could perform it so well. As a newcomer, I appreciate your performance very much. Our screenwriter also appreciates you very much. You really need to say thank you, and you should really thank her. You can get the role of the second female lead, and she deserves a lot of credit. She insisted on letting you play the second female lead. She said you gave her the feeling she wanted. Jiao Mian knows that screenwriter. He is indeed an awesome screenwriter who can have a say in casting. If it was really because of that screenwriter that she got the second female lead, Jiao Mian felt that she had to thank the screenwriter in person. She will be filming a variety show in Ningcheng for a month now, so she probably has to wait until the show is finished to say thank you in person. Everyone in the car got up early. It is inevitable that you will not get enough sleep. Shenfei and Jiao Mian said a few words, then covered her lips and yawned a few times, and said lazily, I got up early this morning and I'm so sleepy. I'll sleep for a while. If you don't sleep, I'll call me when you're here. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1774. Chapter 1774. I have never hated anyone so much. Jiao Mian agreed, and Shenfei put her sunglasses back on, closed her eyes and rested. In the end, Su Mufei, Zhao Yuxiang, and Jiao Angzhen were left. The staff said that their flight is in the afternoon, and others can go to the filming location to familiarize themselves with the environment. After everyone is gathered, they will read out the program rules and the tasks that need to be completed the next day. Asterisk. After driving out of the city from the airport, the bus carrying a group of people bumped along the rugged mountain road for more than 2 hours before finally slowly stopping. Their car was parked outside a small farmyard. Everyone got off the car and looked at their surroundings immediately. This is a real countryside. It is not in the form of a farmhouse. Because I wanted to create a show effect, I chose a relatively poor rural area, surrounded by a few sparse trees and some weeds that had been burned away by the sun. Looking ahead, I saw some fields with crops. Because before coming, everyone knew that this episode would be filmed in a rural area, so most people were mentally prepared and had a rough idea of what the place where they would stay for more than a month would be like. The surrounding environment is definitely not good. The farmyard in front of them looked dilapidated. It can be said that the conditions where they stayed in this episode were much worse than the places where the guests stayed in the past few episodes. But since I chose to come to this show, I can't just come here to enjoy it. So no matter how bad the environment is, many people will not feel a great sense of gap if they are mentally prepared. Of course, most people have no objections, but that doesn't mean that everyone has no objections. Song K had a look of disgust on his face and complained to Xiao Xiao in a low voice, "What kind of place is this place where birds don't lay eggs? Look at the swishing of eggs. The program team is deliberately trying to mess with us. Are you kidding? Really? Living in such a shabby place for a month?" The expression on Xiao Xiao's face did not change, but she still echoed, "The environment is not very good. This is not good, it's just here to suffer." Song K looked at the small courtyard where they were going to live, with disgust on his face. "Even if you don't like what the program team has arranged, what can you do?" Xiao Xiao looked helpless, "Just bear with it, it's only for a month at most anyway." "Xiao Xiao, if we arrange a room later, I will share a room with you." Song K glanced at Jiao Mian standing in front, snorted coldly, "Anyway, I don't care what the show team arranges, there is no way I can be with Jiao Mian live together." Xiao Xiao glanced at Shenfei who was standing in front and said nothing. After a while, he said, "I also want to live in the same room with you, but this should be arranged by the program team. Let's see how to arrange it next." Song K nodded. When she saw Jiao Mian and Shenfei Zanbo standing together, she felt unhappy and said, "Well, I can be with anyone anyway. Just don't arrange me to be with Jiao Mian. I have never hated anyone so much." Xiao Xiao's lips curled up. Although she seems to have a good relationship with Song K, the two of them are just plastic flowers. Song K said just now that he wanted to live in a room with her, but she was not happy in her heart. Speaking of which, Song K is not as famous as her. The person Xiao Xiao wants to make friends with more is Shenfei. Shenfei is an old person in the industry. Although she is an actor, she has a lot of resources at her level. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1775. Chapter 1775. Is it because of her face? If she can establish a good relationship with Shenfei and have her help introduce some people, it will be very helpful to her career. Only, Shenfei is not that easy to make friends with, and Shenfei even helped Jiao Mian today. Xiao Xiao frowned in annoyance. Why is Jiao Mian so lucky? Even Shenfei was willing to help her. It must be because of the man behind her. Xiao Xiao couldn't help but feel jealous when she thought of the man who was as handsome as a god. How could she, Jiao Mian, be so virtuous and talented? How could she let such an outstanding man fall in love with her? Is it just because of her face? But I have to admit that Jiao Mian's face is quite capable of seducing men. Previously to Yuli, Qin Han, Gong Zili, and Bai Yisheng. Now it seems that Zhan Bo also has a crush on her, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to protect her like this when he was still in the car. What a vixen! Xiao Xiao looked at Jiao Mian's back, obviously jealous in her heart, but with contempt in her eyes. After a while, a group of people walked into the yard. The moment they walked into the courtyard, many people had a somewhat surprised expression on their faces. Looking at the shabby little yard from the outside, it's actually pretty good inside. The yard is clean, with flowers, plants, fruits, and even a small pond. This is still a courtyard house. Seeing the environment inside, Jiao Mian's eyes showed a hint of surprise. Unexpectedly, the place she lived in was better than she imagined. At least the yard looked clean and the flowers and plants were beautiful. She also saw a fat tabby cat hiding in the flower bed. If she hadn't been recording the show, she would have been unable to control herself and petted the cat right now. Soon, the host of the show walked out of the middle room. The host of each issue is the same person, named Zhao Yuan. Although everyone hasn't arrived yet, I still want to tell you about today's general arrangements. Zhao Yuan covered his mouth and coughed lightly, and said with a mature attitude, "Today, we mainly want to rest, get familiar with the surrounding environment and the guests participating in this episode. The official shooting will not start until tomorrow. So everyone can relax, introduce yourself first, and get to know each other." Shenfei curled her lips, looked at Zhao Yuan and said, "So, won't you collect your cell phone today? Take it or leave it." Zhao Yuan glanced at Shenfei and blushed a little. Everyone can do whatever they want today. The mobile phone will not be put away until the official shooting. Shenfei is the idol and goddess of many people. Among these people, Zhao Yuan is included. Zhao Yuan can be said to be Shenfei's fan. When he knew that Shenfei was going to participate in this program, he was excited for a long time. Now the goddess is standing in front of him. No matter how calm he looks on the outside, he is actually very excited and nervous in his heart. Shenfei nodded, "I understand. Then tell us how the accommodation is arranged first, and then we can get to know each other after packing our luggage." Zhao Yuan, of course, immediately fulfilled the goddess's request. He nodded hurriedly and said, "Well, you should pack your luggage first. The accommodation is like this. Everyone lives in a room. The middle room is the biggest and best, and the facilities inside are also the most complete. It's still the same old rules. Which room to stay in will be determined by drawing lots. Who wouldn't want to live in a good room? For the sake of fairness, the decision is usually made by drawing lots." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1776. Chapter 1776, Will you be the lucky one? No one has anything to say. The previous issues were also like this, so everyone knows the rules. Zhao Yuan asked someone to bring out a lottery box, and then took the box and said, "Then let's draw lots. Whichever room you draw will live in. Who will come first?" "I'll do it." Zhanbo stepped forward, reached into the box, and took out a folded note. "Open it and take a look." "What room number is it?" Zhao Yuan asked him. Zhanbo nodded, opened it, looked at it, and then said, "Room 7. Room number 7 is over there." Zhao Yuan pointed him in the direction and said, "It's the room next to the gourd stand. The room number is marked on the door." Zhanbo glanced at it, then pulled his suitcase over. He walked over and saw a sign hanging on the door with a number written on it. Zhanbo opened the door and walked in. At first glance, I thought the room was pretty good. Although the facilities in the room are very simple, they are cleaned very well. The sheets and duvet covers on the bed are all new, and there is a bouquet of flowers in a glass bottle on the window sill. The vine on the gourd stand climbed up to the window and formed a small gourd on the window. There is no unpleasant smell in the room. The air is filled with the fragrance of the gardenias in the vase. The photographer came with the machine. Zhanbo looked around the room, then turned his head and said to the camera, "The room is pretty good, quite clean, much better than I expected. Now, I'm going to start packing my luggage." After saying that, he squatted down and went to pack his suitcase. The room has already been equipped with 360-degree cameras, which will capture every move the artist makes. The rooms in Zhanbo have been allocated, and several people outside are continuing to draw lots. The second person to draw lots was Shenfei. The room she drew was the room next to the largest room. It had good lighting and the room was of a suitable size. Shenfei was quite satisfied. Those who have watched the previous episodes of the program know that generally the good rooms have been picked out, and the remaining rooms are of very poor quality. No one wants to live in a bad room. So after Shenfei finished drawing, Xiao Xiao and Song Ke immediately came over, both wanting to get a better room. Only Chiao Mian stood still, as if waiting for them to choose her before going. The photographer on the side filmed the scene calmly. The result was that the rooms Song Ke and Xiao Xiao got were neither good nor bad, and Han Yan's room was also average. The most important thing is that no one has drawn the biggest and best room yet. Chiao Mian was the last one to draw lots. While she was drawing lots, several people around her looked at her. After she pulled it out, Zhao Yuandu looked at the note in her hand and joked, "The best room hasn't been drawn yet. I wonder who the lucky one will be." Mian, before looking at the results, can you answer me a question? Chiao Mian smiled, "Okay, brother Zhao, you ask." Zhao Yuan looked at the note in her hand, "Do you think you will be the lucky one?" This, Chiao Mian also looked down at the note in her hand, and then shook her head, "I don't know. I think, I shouldn't be so lucky. I'm the kind of person who rarely buys water. One more bottle people, so I think the possibility should be very small." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1777. Chapter 1777. With this kind of emotional intelligence, can he still be an artist? Okay, Zhao Yuan was amused by her words. Then it's up to you to reveal the result and see if your luck is as bad as ever, or if you can be a lucky person for once. Chiao Mian didn't show any concern and quickly opened the note. Zhao Yuan immediately asked, "What's your room number?" "No 6." Chiao Mian showed the note to Zhao Yuan. "No 6, Zhao Yuan took the note and looked at it. Sure enough, there was a 6 written on it. He was stunned for a few seconds, and then burst into laughter. Chiao Mian was a little confused by his smile and couldn't help but ask, "Brother Zhao, what's wrong? You also said that you rarely bought another bottle when buying water before. I think you are very lucky. No, the biggest and best room was chosen by you." Chiao Mian was stunned for a moment, then blinked, "I chose the biggest and best room. Well, room 6 is the biggest and best room." Chiao Mian still couldn't believe that her luck was so good. "Really? I'm so lucky." Zhao Yuan smiled and nodded, "Well, really. You are our lucky one today." Several people around her looked at her with envy and jealousy. Especially Song Ke, she was almost furious. She originally wanted to get the best room, but now she was chosen by Chiao Mian. Song Ke was already extremely unhappy with Chiao Mian because of the Zanbo incident. Now that she saw Chiao Mian win the room she wanted most, she felt even more uncomfortable. She couldn't help but said, "There can't be some secret operation. Why is she so lucky? She was the last one to draw, and then she got the best room." He saw the expression on Zhao Yuan's face stiffen for a moment, and a trace of displeasure quickly passed through his eyes. Although he had heard that Song Ke's emotional intelligence was not high before, he did not expect that his emotional intelligence was so low. With this kind of emotional intelligence, can you still be an artist? If it weren't for the financial backer behind her, I'm afraid she wouldn't even be able to make it to the 18th line. Zhao Yuan was unhappy in his heart, but he still didn't show it on his face, and said with a smile, "So this is just a matter of luck. Okay, now that everyone knows which room you are in, let's go back to our respective rooms to pack our luggage. We'll have dinner after everything is ready. By the way, there will be a bonfire party prepared by the program team for dinner. Anyone who wants to participate can come. If you want to go out to find food by yourself, that's fine. In short, you must be back before 9 o'clock in the evening. At that time, I will count the number of people. Do you understand?" Asterisk. After Zhao Yuan finished explaining what he had to explain that day, he left. Chiao Mian also dragged her suitcase to room 6. After entering the room, she couldn't help but sigh to herself, It is indeed the best room. There is a TV and a refrigerator in this room. Other people's rooms have few electrical appliances. Only Chiao Mianmian's room has relatively complete facilities. And the bed in her room is larger than the beds in other people's rooms. It is a 2-meter wide bed. Because other people's rooms are relatively small, the beds they put in them are only 1.2 meters long. Tall people like Zhan Bo and Han Yan would feel a little uncomfortable sleeping. Moreover, Chiao Mianmian's room still has a floor. Although it is a cheap-looking floor, it is also the only room with a floor. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1778. Chapter 1778. Her room is worse than a doghouse. Other people's rooms have cement floors. Chiao Mianmian is naturally very satisfied with this room. What surprised her the most was that she actually saw a bathroom in her room. Although it is a very small bathroom, it is still an independent bathroom. This is very rare in a village with such conditions. Compared to Chiao Mianmian's surprise, Song Ke and Xiao Xiao's room was very ordinary. Their rooms are not even as good as Zanbo's. There is only a bed, a cabinet, and nothing else extra in the room. Song Ke lost his temper in his room. What kind of broken house is this? Is this a place for people to live? Song Ke's financial sponsor bought her a villa and a luxury car, and arranged for many servants to take care of her. Song Ke had never suffered much before entering the entertainment industry. In her eyes, her room was worse than a doghouse. You want her to live here for the next month? Song Ke feels unbearable just thinking about it. She threw her luggage away and ran out of the room angrily. In order to facilitate communication with the guests, Zhao Yuan lived in a room next door to the courtyard. When Song Ke found him, Zhao Yuan was feeding the chickens in the yard with a handful of rice in his hand. Song Ke looked at the chickens eating happily with disgust in her eyes. She walked around the chickens, walked up to Zhao Yuan, and asked directly, "Brother Zhao, can my room be changed, for a moment?" Zhao Yuan, who was feeding the chickens, raised his head and was stunned for a moment when he saw her. "Do you want to change rooms?" Yes, Song Ke nodded. "Why?" "I think that room is a bit sinister." I'm afraid Song Ke was not stupid enough to tell the real reason directly. If she said that she didn't want to live in the house because it was too shabby, wouldn't she have offended the people on the show? "It's cloudy." Zhao Yuan raised his head and looked at the blue sky and white clouds above his head, as well as the scorching Sunday. "No, the weather is quite good today. And the rooms you live in are well lit." "Okay. But, I just feel so cold. As soon as I walked in, I felt the air conditioning blowing on me." Song Ke opened his eyes and lied, "The air in that room is very cold. If you stay in there for a long time, I will definitely get sick." Zhao Yuan stared at her for a few seconds, and slowly understood what was going on. Chiao Mianmian was talking about the secret operation in that room before. At this moment, I said something about the dark swishing in the room. All things considered, she must be dissatisfied with her room. Such a request, of course, is impossible for Zhao Yuan to agree to. The program team has its own arrangements. If it all follows the artist's ideas, what's the point of watching it? But Zhao Yuan couldn't refuse directly. He thought for a while and said, "According to the rules of the program team, you cannot change rooms. But the rules are dead and people are alive, so I think you can ask other people, would you like to change rooms with you? If someone wants, it's okay to change rooms." Asterisk. After Song Ke returned to the courtyard, he thought again about what Zhao Yuan said to her just now. If she had to change rooms, of course she wanted to change to Chiao Mianmian's room. Is that scheming willing to trade with her? Song Ke was thinking about it and walked outside Chiao Mianmian's room. Inside the room, Chiao Mianmian is still packing her luggage. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1779. Chapter 1779 I can only stay in your room. This time she is coming to stay for a month, so she brought a lot of things with her, including a big box, all of which was filled. She just took out some daily necessities, including her skincare products, makeup, toothbrushes, mouthwash cups, and so on. She also brought 2 sets of bedding. Although the program crew bought them new bedding, Chiao Mian was still used to using her own. The door is ajar. Song K could see the furnishings and decorations inside the house while standing outside. When she saw that there was a refrigerator and a TV in Chiao Mian's room, her face showed jealousy again, and she just hated why she was not the lucky one. You don't know if you don't compare them. Only after comparing them did she realize how big the difference was between her room and Chiao Mian's room. Although in her opinion, they were all shabby, Chiao Mian's room was obviously much better. Not only is it larger than her room, but it also has more furniture. She could barely endure it for a month if she lived in such a room. Song K stood outside the door for a while. Seeing Chiao Mian still packing her luggage, she reached out and knocked on the door. Hearing the sound, Chiao Mian raised her head. Seeing Song K standing at the door, Chiao Mian frowned, then lowered her head and continued to pack her luggage. Chiao Mian had thought about it before coming to the show. It would be best if I could make more friends on the show. If not, she will not deliberately try to please anyone, and everyone will just maintain a superficial relationship. For Song K, Chiao Mian treated him with the latter mentality. Hey, Chiao Mian Song could see that Chiao Mian actually ignored her, frowned, walked into the room with a sullen face, stood in front of her and said, "Don't be busy cleaning up now, I want to discuss something with you." Chiao Mian took out some things from the suitcase and arranged them on the cabinet, then slowly turned his head and looked at her. "What's the matter?" Song K saw the cameras everywhere in the room. She calmed down her expression slightly and said, "Let's change rooms. I'll live where you live." Chiao Mian was stunned. She looked at Song K's confident expression. After a few seconds, she felt funny and said, "Change rooms? What do you mean? You mean you come to live with me and I will live with you?" That's right. Song K didn't think her request was excessive at all. She raised her chin and said, "Let's exchange rooms." "Is this what the program team means?" Chiao Mian asked. "No, but Brother Zhao told me that I can come to you to change rooms." Song K deliberately misinterpreted Zhao Yuan's words. Zhao Yuan's original words were that she could go to someone else to discuss the exchange. But whether to change or not depends on whether others are willing. But when Song K said this, Zhao Yuan asked her to change rooms with Chiao Mian. Chiao Mian is not stupid, and of course she does not believe that Zhao Yuan would make such an arrangement. She stared at Song K for a while, then slowly raised her lips and smiled. "Miss Song, Brother Zhao said that you should come to me, but he didn't say that I had to change rooms with you, right? Which room we live in is not determined by drawing lots." The expression on Song K's face froze for a moment, and soon he looked confident again. "I am weak, so I have to live in a sunny room. Your room is the sunniest, so I can only live in your room. We are in the same team and we should help each other. It's just a matter of changing rooms. You can't be so stingy and refuse to change." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1780. Chapter 1780. She just has a problem with me, deliberately. Yo Chiao Mian couldn't help but laugh. "Miss Song is weak and needs to live in a room with plenty of sunlight. Doesn't that mean other people are not weak?" Chiao Mian looked at Song K's confident look and felt funny. I'm sorry, my body is also very weak, and I also need to live in a sunny place. So, I can't trade with you, Miss Song. You. Song K thought this was not a big deal, and Chiao Mian would agree to her. After all, Chiao Mian is the most junior person in this team. If she were smarter, she would definitely not refuse. There are so many cameras filming in the room. If she is willing to give up the room, she can gain a reputation as a generous and considerate person. Song K thought that Chiao Mian, a newbie who finally got into this program, would definitely seize the opportunity to earn performance. She came to see Chiao Mian only after she had made her wishful thinking. She never thought that Chiao Mian would refuse. For a while, Song K felt that he could not step down. She became angry with embarrassment. Chiao Mian, you are going too far. We have to live together for a month, and you are not willing to help with such a small matter. Chiao Mian also knew that there was a camera in the room recording her every move. She looked at Song K with a faint look, and the smile on the corner of her lips was also faint. Her whole person seemed to be in a very calm mood. But for some reason, the moment Song K met her eyes, he didn't dare to look directly at her. Miss Song is right. I went too far and was unwilling to help even with such small things. I am so selfish, so Miss Song should find someone else. I believe there must be someone who is willing to exchange rooms with you. Song K was stunned. She thought Chiao Mian would retort to her, but she didn't expect that she would admit that she was a selfish person. Song K was speechless all of a sudden. If Miss Song has nothing else to do, please give in, Chiao Mian said not very politely. I still have to clean the room. Of course, if Miss Song is willing to stay and help me clean, then I will. It couldn't be better. Song K. This Baichi is so beautiful to think about. Who is going to clean her? Song K thought that changing rooms would go smoothly, but he didn't expect that he would be disappointed. She walked out of Chiao Mian's room with a sullen face. Han Yan also came out of the room just now. Seeing that Song K seemed unhappy, he stepped forward and asked, Song K, what's going on? Who made you angry? Who else could it be? Song K complained angrily, it's not Chiao Mian. Oh, Han Yan was stunned for a moment. Why did she make you angry again? I asked her to change rooms just now, but she didn't change with me. Song K liked to pretend to be cute and weak in front of men. She looked at Han Yan with an aggrieved look and said, she doesn't care about such a small thing. Yes. Do you think she can't live well? Besides, I told her that I was feeling unwell and needed to stay in her room. She still refused to change with me. She just has a problem with me, on purpose. Han dialect. He thought Chiao Mian had really done something excessive. After listening to what Song K said, he felt that the person who went too far seemed to be Song K. Of course, he didn't dare to say this, because he didn't want to cause trouble for himself. End of this chapter.